Alright guys, so I apologize for having to miss again, but again, it's for my wife. We're kind of playing it by ear here, if the baby comes at some point soon, this will be a reality of the class for just a little while. And so one thing I do want to say is that on Tuesday there were several students who really didn't do much work. Okay, that's going to lead me to grade all of these, and let's make sure we're doing our work, because what I want you to know is that class does not stop just because I'm not here. That's why I make these videos, is to continue the learning. And now a lot of us did really well. Okay, a lot of students even finished like everything I left, which is awesome. It was crazy. I was very shocked by that. But what I'm saying here is that just because I'm gone does not mean the learning stops. Okay, we got to continue on working. Because when I come back, we can't just kind of like have to relearn everything that we did when I was gone. We have to continue moving forward and pushing forward. So with that being said, today I'm going to kind of work through a lot of the stuff I've left you so that I can make sure we all know exactly what we're doing here. Now, if we remember, on Tuesday we stopped working with equations and started working with inequalities. There are four signs of inequalities. That's the less than sign. There's greater than. There's less than or equal to, and then there is greater than or equal to. All right. Now these differ from equations because in an equation all you have is the equal sign. Okay, and so but the good thing is they're solved almost exactly like equations. Not totally just like equations, because we do flip the sign sometimes, but oftentimes they're solved like equations. And one more time, I need to apologize for the camera quality. I know it's not the best. It's actually really bad, so I apologize about that. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and start working through these. This says 5p minus 2 is less than negative 12. Alright, so again, solving the inequality just means solving for the variable, just like we would do in an equation. So in this case, what I need to do is I need to go ahead and add 2 first. Okay, add 2 on both sides. Alright, and that's going to give me 5p is less than 10. Alright, now again, what I want you to remember is the left side of this inequality is less than the right side of the inequality because of that. These are not equal. Okay, this is less than 10. Now let's just divide both sides by 5. Alright, we divide them by 5, and we'll get p is less than 10 divided by 5 is 2. So p is less than 2. So p does not equal to. I want you to remember that. Our variable does not equal to. Our variable is any number that is below 2. So if we remember how to graph this, if you have a less than or a greater than sign but not equal to, you do an open circle. So we do an open unshaded circle at 2. Now, less than means we highlight to the direction that is less than 2, meaning we're going to move to the left. Alright, and what this signifies is that our variable p could be any number that is less than 2. So right up as close as you can get to 2 and below. Alright, let's move on to the next one. So negative 4 times x minus 6 is greater than or equal to 25. Well, what I would do first here is just distribute. Because again, solve these just like equations. So we get negative 4x. Now this is going to be plus 24, right? Because negative times negative is positive. Let's keep remembering that. Now that whole thing is greater than or equal to 25. And now, just like an equation, what we would do is we would subtract 24. Okay? Alright, so we'll get negative 4x is greater than or equal to 1. Now, here's where inequalities differ from equations. We have to divide not by 4, but by negative 4. Now, what happens when you divide by a negative? Well, remember, the sign is going to flip. Okay, if you don't flip your sign, you're going to get it wrong. So this becomes less than or equal to. So we get x is less than or equal to. Now, when we have a negative on the bottom, just move it out in front of the fraction. So x is less than or equal to negative 1 over 4. Now on the number line, negative 1 over 4 is not between negative 1 and 2, it's between 0 and negative 1, and it'll be very close to 0, so about right here. Now we have to shade it in, right? Because it is also equal to. Okay, when it's equal to, you got to shade it in. And then less than means move in the leftward direction. All right, so that's how we would do that. Let's continue on. Now this says solve and graph the multi-step inequality. Now what we see here, this one differs from the first two in that there is a variable on both sides of the inequality. Now y'all had some of those in the last period class on Tuesday, and so let's go ahead and do this. Well, the left side we cannot do anything, right? It's just 9y minus 4, and that is greater than, we distribute. We get 2y plus 20. Okay, and then make sure you bring down your plus 4. Now what do we do here? Well, let's just combine our like terms. All right, 9y minus 4 is greater than 2y, okay, plus 24. Now if this were an equation at this point, what would you do? Well, what we would do is we would subtract 2y, right? We want to get the variable to one side of the equation. Okay, now that is going to give us, I'm going to come over here, we'll get 7y minus 4 is greater than 24. Now let's go ahead and add 4 to both sides. 7y is greater than 28. And lastly, hopefully it's very easy for us to tell, let's just divide by 7. That's going to be y is greater than 28 over 7, which is 4. Now there's a number line over here. Let's graph y is greater than 4. So 4 is right here. We're going to leave the circle open, right? Because it's just greater than. It does not include 4. It is greater than 4. And we'll shade in that direction. Okay, because greater than, you move to the right because it is a bigger value. All right. So we can, so something we did not do on Tuesday in the video or in any of the classwork I left was we didn't include any word problems really. So I want to show you how you can make an inequality from a word problem, and it's not nearly as hard as it might sound. And now this one's even multiple choice right here. So instead of having to build your own, you get to choose from some options. All right, so Carson wants to purchase a gym membership for an entire year. He does not want to spend more than $150 during that time. Okay, there's the total that he does not want to spend more than. Okay, the gym has a sign-up fee of $25. Okay, now remember, a sign-up fee is a one-time charge. And then they charge $15 per month. Okay, so remember, if you see the word per, that means you need to put your variable with that number. So let's go down here and let's look at the ones that don't have a variable with the 15. Well, it looks like all these have a variable with 15, so none of these can be marked out from that. So now, which of these represents the situation? Well, first of all, we are identifying the inequality, right? Well, just based off of those instructions, what can we mark out right off the bat? We can mark off A and B, right? Those are equations. Okay, those are equations, and so we're not going to deal with those. We're dealing with inequalities here. So that leaves us with two options. Now I want you to think about the $150 that Carson doesn't want to spend more than that. So let's go ahead and keep $150 on this side. Let's say we're going to put a sign of inequality right here. We just don't know what yet. And let's make the left side all the costs that he's going to have. Well, what are the costs that he has? Well, he has the $25 one-time fee plus how much per month? Well, $15 per month. All right. Now, what goes in between here? Well, think about what it is. Does he want to spend more than 150 or less than 150? Okay, yeah, so he does not want to spend more, meaning he needs to spend less than 150. So we're going to say that this is less than $150. However, let's add one more thing to it. It says he doesn't want to spend more than $150. So if he spent $150, that'll still be okay with him. So we can say that it needs to be less than or equal to 150. So now what this says is $25 for the sign-up fee and $15 a month has to be less than or equal to $150 because he does not want to spend more than that. So which of these options matches that? Well, it's going to be C right here. All right, so that is the spiral review. Now remember, we always need to keep our spiral reviews. Okay, always need to keep them. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move into the next page. Now, I'm not going to do all of these, but I am going to pick a few that I'm going to do with y'all. And let's see, the first one we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go down here where there's variables on both sides of the inequality. I think there are. Yeah, there are. Okay, towards the bottom. I want to show y'all something that I did not point out in the video last time. Let's go to number 13. And I know it's a little blurry on my screen, but it's on your paper. So what do we need to do first here? Well, let's go ahead and distribute. So we'll get negative 12, okay, minus 2s, okay, make sure we do minus because it's negative 2, is less than negative 16 plus 2s. All right, so what should we do now? Well, we need to get the variable to one side. Now, if y'all remember from the other day, we always want to end up with an inequality having the variable on the left side. So what I would recommend doing with all inequalities is get rid of the variable on the right side. So let's get rid of the positive 2s. So let's subtract 2s from both sides. Okay, subtract out 2s, and we'll get negative 12 minus 4s, okay, because negative 2 minus negative 2, and that's less than negative 16. All right, so continue on. Let's go ahead and add 12. Okay, because we're just solving this like an equation, all right? Add 12. Now make sure you bring the negative with your 4s. So negative 4s is less than negative 4. Now what's the last thing we need to do here? Well, let's divide. But what are we going to divide by? Got to divide by that negative 4, right? So when we divide by negative 4, what happens to our middle sign? We're going to flip it, right? So it becomes greater than. So we get s is greater than negative 4 divided by negative 4 is going to be 1. So s is greater than 1. All right, so there's that. Let's see. I do want to show y'all one thing. So if y'all would, go ahead and turn to the back. Now I know there's a couple problems on the back for yours. Or actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's look at these. So these are the problems that are on the back of your page right here. And I want to go ahead and explain something. Okay, so with inequalities, so if y'all remember with the equations, there were equations that have infinite solutions, and there's equations that have no solutions. The same is true for inequalities, and I'm going to show you how you can figure that out. Okay, because anytime we solve an inequality, there's going to be quite a few solutions. Like like on the last one we had, the answer was s is greater than 1. That means that any number bigger than 1 is a solution, which is a lot of numbers. Now, with something like these, you could still end up with literally infinite solutions or no solutions. And let's see one of each. Okay, so let's go ahead and start solving this. We would distribute. 2 times n is 2n. Okay, minus 2 times 3 is what? Yep, so minus 6. And that is less than or equal to negative 13 plus 2n. Now, what do you notice about both sides of the inequality? Okay, same variable with the same coefficient, right? They're both 2n. Okay, with an equation, we stopped right there. If this were an equation, this would have no solution. But let's not make that decision yet for the inequality. What I want you to do in this case is I want you to go ahead and mark out your variables. If they match, mark them out. Now, what are we left with? Well, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it. We're left with negative 6 is less than or equal to negative 13. And we have to think, is this a true statement? Is negative 6 less than negative 13? The answer to that is no, it is not. Because think about a number line. Negative 6 is closer to 0 than negative 13, so negative 6 is greater than that. So what I'm getting at is if your variables match, you can go and mark them out. If you're left with a false statement, okay, this is a false statement, you're going to say that this has no solution. Okay, no solution here. If you're left with a false statement. Now let's see what happens when you have a true statement. So let's distribute here. Negative 3 times W is negative 3W. Okay, minus 9, because that's negative 3 times positive 3. Now that is less than 9 minus 3W. Now, hopefully what we see here is the variables match again. They're both negative 3W. So again, let's mark them out. And I'm going to rewrite what I have left. This is negative 9 is less than 9. Is that a true statement? Well, yeah, right? Negative 9 is much less than positive 9. So this is a true statement. So when you're left with a true statement, so over here we're left with a false statement, meaning no solution. What do you think it is when we're left with a true statement? Yeah, when we're left with a true statement, it is infinitely many solutions is what that means. All right, so that is when you can tell when there's no solution or infinitely many solutions. Now, I'm going to do another word problem with y'all. Okay, I'm going to do this one. Okay, so the unit cost for a piece of fabric is $4.99 per yard, including tax. Okay, so we're not going to add tax to it because this includes the tax already. You have $30 to spend on material. How many whole feet of material can you buy? Well, think about what this is asking. First of all, what is the maximum amount of money we want to spend here? We have $30. So let's put $30 as our total. Okay. Now, how much, what are we trying to buy here? We're trying to buy this fabric, right? It's $4.99, and we see that word per. Per means to put the variable with it. So $4.99. Let's use the variable y for yard. So this says $4.99 per yard. Now, what sign of inequality should go here? Do we want to spend more than $30 or like up to $30? So we can only spend up to 30 bucks, right? So instead of saying equals 30, we're going to say we want to spend either less than or equal to $30. So we're saying what we're purchasing has to be less than 30 or equal to 30. We cannot go above $30. So this is a very easy one, right? This is a super easy inequality to solve. We can just divide by 4.99. All right, so y is going to be less than or equal to, I do not have my calculator with me, but that is going to be approximately 6 something. It's 6 point something, something, something. I'm not totally sure what it is. However, we can't buy more than that, right? So the most we can purchase then is going to be 6 yards. Okay, the most you can purchase is 6 yards because it says how many whole feet. Okay, you're not in this situation. You're not allowed to buy partial feet, so we can't buy the 6 point something. We can only buy 6. Because in this thing it says y can be less than or equal to that 6 point something, so y can definitely be equal to 6. All right, so there's that. And then so what I need you to do is you'll finish this page. Okay, you'll have all the notes that we did, and then there's one more page that should be on there, and it is these word problems. Okay, there's 4 word problems, and there's 3 questions per word problem. So, we can go ahead and do one together, and then the other 3 I need you to do on your own. So it says Daniel had $25 to spend at the fair. If the admission to the fair is $4 and the rides cost $1.50 each, what is the greatest number of rides Daniel can go on? Write an inequality to represent his situation. Okay, so how much can he spend at the fair? This is always a good starting point. He can spend up to $25. So in inequalities, it's always going to tell you either the most you can do or the least you can do. And we'll always go ahead and put that on the right side of the inequality. Okay, our boy Daniel cannot spend more than $25. Okay, that is the maximum amount that he can spend. Okay, if the admission to the fair is $4 and the rides cost $1.50 each, okay, so that's going to be on the left side of the inequality. If you pay admission of $4, is that going to happen more than once or just one time? Well, it's just going to happen one time, right? You go into the fair once. Plus, we see $1.50 each, so that means we're going to put our variable with the $1.50 because you're paying $1.50 per ride. I'm going to use R because that's kind of what we're talking about here is rides. So the left side of the inequality is $4 admission plus $1.50 per ride. And now, is this going to be greater than 25 or less than 25 or also equal to? What do we think? Well, Daniel doesn't have more than 25 bucks, right? So this cannot be more than 25. We're going to say that has to be less than or equal to 25 because he can spend $25. He has 25 bucks, so he can spend that, but he can also spend less than that if he wants. But what he can't do is he cannot spend more. Okay, he doesn't have 26 bucks, he doesn't have 30, he only has 25. So how many rides can Daniel go on? Well, if we just solve for R, that's going to tell us that. So I would subtract 4. That's going to give us 1.5. R is less than or equal to 21. Okay, then your last step. I'm not going to do the last step. Again, I don't have my calculator. But go ahead and do that last step. Just divide by 1.5 on both sides. That is going to give you your solution. Then where it says graph on a number line, it needs you to make your own number line. Okay, very easy. Just put that. What I want you to do is put 0 somewhere on the number line, then put whatever solution you get, like kind of in reference to it. So whatever solution you get, put around like over here, and then go ahead and graph it. So if it's going to be less than or equal to, obviously it'll be the filled in circle going this way. However, on your notes, if all I see is an R, I'm going to know you did not do that work. So make sure you divide. You get the real number, you put it right there. I just kept it R because R is less than or equal to whatever number you're going to put here. All right, with that being said, I need this work done, at least to the best of your ability. The other day, I looked through the notes, and a lot of students only did the work that I did on the video. Okay, that's not enough to get our classwork grade. Okay, if we're doing that, that's going to end up being a pretty bad grade in the grade book. So y'all do the work that's expected of y'all. Y'all are doing awesome. Keep doing the work. I'll see you when I can. Hopefully, I'm going to be back in school as quickly as possible. Maybe tomorrow, or maybe it's Monday. I don't know when it's going to be. We're just kind of, it's not our time, it's the baby's time. So whenever our son wants to come into the world, that's when it's going to happen. So I appreciate y'all being understanding. Y'all have an awesome day. Keep up the great work.